What's up, everyone? I'm Seth, and this is Acquired Salary. Today, I'm going to be going over a college degree tier list. Now, if you appreciate me doing videos like this, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future tier lists like this, as well as other career-related content. With that, let's jump into things. These degrees are going to be ranked based off of growth and demand, earnings, cost versus return on investment, time investment, as well as skill transferability. To kick things off, we're going to start with accounting. Accounting is definitely going to be B tier. It's got fast growth and demand. It's projected to be about 7% demand, and this is going to continue up to 2032, all due to globalization as well as regulatory complexity. Earnings, decent, especially on the entry-level side of things. You're going to be getting about 60K, and then as you progress in your career, you can definitely expect something like 80K. The right kind of accounting, you can certainly make a lot more than that. In terms of cost versus ROI, generally you get a strong return on investment, especially at public schools. Many firms reimburse CPA exams, as well as offer tuition reimbursement. And this is specifically relating to masters. Next up, we've got kind of the time investment side of things. It's going to be at least 4 years. And then an additional 30 credit hours is needed for your CPA exam licensure. And then in terms of skill transferability, financial reporting, tax prep, audit skills, all apply broadly across the corporate finance, consulting, and nonprofit sectors. So that's why it's getting a solid B tier. Next up, we have business administration. Business administration, it's going to be B tier, almost C tier. I'm going to say it's B tier. Yes, we do have a lot of demand for management occupations and then, kind of the generalist side of things. However, a lot of people are going to get a business administration degree or a business degree. So competition is going to be difficult in terms of like getting your foot in the door. But regardless, mid-career, you can be earning something like 100K. General managers typically have that 100K mark, and then your entry level, you could be expecting something around 60K. In terms of cost versus ROI, again, this is going to vary widely, all based upon which program you go to. The better programs are going to be something you can check out at collegescorecard.edu. There you can see, okay, if I go to this school and I get this specific degree, what is the median or average earnings for that specific program, and then you can do the specific ROI calculation there. And then we've got time investment. Obviously, this is going to be a basic 4-year degree. And then because there are so many people getting business degrees, it's important and crucial that you get an internship so that you don't just get stuck in this terrible job market. In terms of skill transferability, leadership, operations management, and organizational behavioral skills are definitely important and valuable in anybody's career. So very transferable from that standpoint. That's why it's still getting B tier, despite there's going to be a lot of competition with how many business degrees are out there. Next up, we have chemistry. So we don't have as fast of growth with a chemistry degree, and that's going to kind of get it placed into B tier. Chemists, material scientists, they're slower growth, but it is a steady industry. Median earnings is something like $80,000 a year, and your typical entry level is going to be somewhere around $55,000 to $60,000 a year. Good ROI overall, especially at state schools. And then advanced degrees, depending on what type of chemistry you're trying to go into, may be required, which might make it a little bit more difficult to calculate that ROI. You definitely have to be very selective on which degree program you go to. And if anything, I would say it's better to try and get into a corporate job, leveraging your chemistry degree, and then have that corporation pay for your master's degree. That would be the best way to have a high ROI. But overall, time investment, basic 4-year degree. And then if you want to get into the more advanced research and development type things, you're going to have to do 2 to 6 years for your master's or your PhD. Overall, though, you have a ton of transferable skills, lab techniques, analytical thinking, and a ton of instrument skills are learned. And this is going to cross over from pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and environmental science, as well as quality control. So that's why it's getting a solid B tier. Next up, we have civil engineering. Again, this is going to be a faster growth industry, and because of that, it's going into B tier. Nothing's really blown anything out of the water here. That's why we're all just kind of getting placed into B tier at this point in time. But we projected to have about a 6% growth. Oh, that's computer science. Civil engineering, not computer science. So civil engineering is going to be B tier because of the 6% growth. And then, this is going to be fueled by infrastructure, renewal, as well as urbanization. Median earnings are going to be somewhere in the $88,000 a year. You can definitely earn more, depends on where you're working, but your entry level is going to be around that 60K mark, 63. Cost versus return on investment, you're going to be better at state schools because you're not going to be paying as much for private schools and those sorts of things. And then a professional engineering license is definitely going to add to your long-term earnings power, but again, it's more work. Overall, it's going to be basic 4-year degree, and then any additional licensing exams or a master's degree on top of that if you really want to step up your earnings capacity. But you have to be very careful on which masters you get or which licenses are highest value to increase your marketability. And then in terms of skill transferability, of course, you're going to get project management, CAD, structural analysis, and these things can pivot into all sorts of different jobs like construction management, environmental consulting, as well as renewable energies. So that's why it's pretty versatile and still getting a B tier. Next up, we have computer science. This one's going to be extremely fast growth, something like projected at 22%. Because of the growth, it is definitely going to be S tier, but then there's a lot of competition in this space, especially in the AI side of things. And then if you take into consideration H-1B visa competition, those sorts of things, and it's definitely a competitive space. It might not be the ideal job market right now. So because of that, it's going to get bumped down to A tier. But still, your median earnings are going to be great. Entry levels higher than most at 76K a year, and then you can easily be earning over 6 figures, like 110K once you get into those mid-level career years. And then in terms of cost versus ROI, again, it's going to have an exceptional ROI as long as you can make sure you get a job. So make sure you're going to specific schools that have a high job placement rate. And even if you go to a private school for computer science, you're going to have a higher return on investment because you'll be able to pull a higher salary based off of going to that private school, especially the Ivy Leagues and those sorts of things. But still, it's a 4-year degree, and you're going to have things like coding boot camps. If you really want to start to get your foot in the door, I would say go to a coding boot camp and then do Fiverr or Upwork jobs and start to build a portfolio there. And then if things seem to be moving well, like if you can get an entry level, lower paying computer science degree job, then maybe you can consider getting a full-blown degree. But I would only get the full-blown degree if you take that route and it seems to be that you're bottlenecked because you don't have the degree. Like you can't get jobs because of the degree, or you can't get interviews because you don't have the degree. Either way, it's great. You're going to get programming, algorithm experience, and systems thinking, which are all very core to the tech industry in general. So it's going to be very versatile there. Next up, we have cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is easily going to be S tier because tech isn't going away anytime soon. We have extremely high demand, projected at something like 35% growth. And then as it comes with that, you're going to get a good high salary. Median mid-career is going to be in the 6-figure range. Entry level can be around $70,000 a year. It's going to be a high return on investment. And many programs have certificate tracks that accelerate entry into the industry without having to get that full 4-year degree. But still, many people get their 4-year degree plus certificates, and then you're going to be recruited or eligible for those top roles. In terms of transferability, it's extremely transferable. You got risk assessments. You can get exposure to ethical hacking and compliance knowledge, valuable in any sector. Literally every company has tech involved nowadays. And that's part of the reason why cybersecurity has a 0% unemployment rate. Next up, we have data science. Data science is going to be an A tier. It's got fast growth, something projected around 36%. Obviously, every company has data collection, every website has cookies, and Google is collecting your data, and being able to analyze that data is super important. It goes into the computer science thing of building out algorithms and those sorts of things. Your median pay is going to be something like $95,000 a year. Depending on what you specifically go in, though, you can definitely be making more than $120,000. Next up, in terms of the cost versus ROI, we've got really excellent return on investment. Programs at public universities, of course, are always going to be better because they're going to be cheaper. And then you can get into specialized boot camps or master's programs that can continue to increase your earning capacity. But again, it's all about that cost benefit analysis. If you want like insight into how to do that cost benefit analysis, just drop a comment in the comment section below, and I'll go over one of the most valuable cost benefit analysis gestalts that I've experienced. In terms of return on or time investment, it's going to be a basic 4-year degree, and you can do micro credentialism with, cloud or Python, R coding, and those sorts of things. And in terms of scalability or transferability of your skills, you can get into statistical modeling and machine learning skills, which apply to finance, healthcare, retail, and more. So it's a very versatile degree. That's why it's getting A tier. Next up, we have education. Education, many people would think this is going to be D tier just because it's going to be lower pay. Well, I'm in Colorado, and some of these teachers here, just high school teachers, can actually make a lot of money, especially if you get into master's programs and those sorts of things. So it's better than you would think. There is always going to be demand for teachers. Currently, there is 5% projected growth for K through 12, and then obviously this is going to vary by region. Shortages are going to probably increase the likelihood of how much you're going to get paid, but it is also dependent upon state and local governments and how much they are funding the public education system. A little bit less relevant if you get into private education, like a private school, but still, your median across the nation is going to be about $60,000 a year. However, the entry level is going to be closer to 40, 45, but in Colorado, Colorado specifically, it's much higher than that, which is why I'm saying it's location dependent, but education can definitely be a good option. It's something like 70, 80K for teachers, depending on kind of experience and that sort of thing. It's 4-year degree, and then depending on the specific state, you might have some additional licensure that you have to go through, and then if you want to continue to make more money, master's is definitely going to be required, but still, you're going to have a lot of like transferable skills in terms of communication, and this can be useful in a corporate setting as well. And instruction design is also beneficial. You can get into a corporation. You can transfer from education if you're like, hey, this is great, but it's not making me a ton of money. You can put on the right sales skills, apply the right sales skills, and you can get into kind of the corporate learning environment, which can make you a lot more money. Next up, we have electrical engineering. Electrical engineering is easily going to be A tier. Again, everybody's got tech, which means everything's going to be some sort of computer, which requires electrical engineering design. It's got fast growth, something like 7% or about, and it's going to be growing a lot in the renewable energy automation side of things. We get a median earnings of about $100,000 a year, with entry level being somewhere close to about $70,000 a year. Again, this is a strong return on investment degree program. State schools are going to be better than private schools, and overall, you can offset your costs by doing research and getting, work studies and those sorts of things. Overall, though, it is a 4-year time investment, like pretty much any of these degrees. And if you want to continue to climb the corporate ladder and get into more advanced staff engineering roles, you're probably going to have to get a master's. But again, it all depends on the specific company that you're working for and what they require. And many of the companies do provide tuition reimbursement if you want to go back to a master's. Again, it's all a part of your compensation package, depending on where you're working. In terms of skill transferability, you're going to be getting a lot of that baseline engineering experience, which can then be used to branch into other engineering degrees. Might be a little bit more difficult initially, but if you get an engineering degree, you're intelligent enough to transfer into other engineering spaces. Still, you're going to get circuit design, signal processing, and system integration skills, which are in demand across pretty much all industries, again, because tech is so prevalent. Next up, we have economics. Economics is going to be a B tier degree. This is because there's a projected 11% growth of economists, and finance area is going to be a little bit lower than that. Still, your median earnings as an economist is going to be about $105,000 a year, with the entry-level business analyst role getting about $60,000 a year. It's typically a good return on investment at most institutions, and then PhDs are often required for the top research roles and positions. So that might drop down the initial return on investment, but long term it might be beneficial. Again, this is a calculation you'd have to do on your own in your specific situation. Time investment, typical 4-year degree. Advanced degrees are required for those higher level roles. And then in terms of transferable skills, quantitative analysis and policy evaluation skills translate into consulting, finance, and the public sector. So it's a good option overall. Next up, we have finance. Finance is going to be projected about 7% growth, specifically from financial analysts, and then fintech roles are growing a little bit faster than that, somewhere around 15%. Because of this growth and the other reasons that I'm going to mention after this, is going to get A tier. Median earnings are about $83,000 a year. Entry into banking is going to be something like $60,000 a year, and the more experience you have, the more likely you are to make that 6 figures. You're going to get a higher return on investment at most schools, and it's going to be better if you go to a school that has strong recruiting ties. And then you're also going to benefit from getting internships and further credentials to help increase the return on investment or the ease with which you can get a job. Time investment, again, 4 years. Additional licensing exams can take 2 to 3 years. But you're going to get skills that are transferable in terms of valuation, financial modeling, risk management, and these are all applicable in corporate strategy, venture capital, and startups. So that's why it's a great option. Next up, we have information technology. One might think, oh, this is going to be something like S tier or A tier, but I'm actually going to put information technology into B tier. This is, yes, there are a lot of IT roles out there, and there's a growth of about 15%. However, the median is $88,000 a year, with typical entry being about $55,000 a year. And you have a solid return on investment from community colleges and certification programs. However, the full degree is going to be 4 years, and the certifications can certainly shorten your entry into industry. However, it's going to be a little bit less valuable than the full-blown computer science or software engineering side of things. But you're still going to get transferable skills like infrastructure, cloud, and virtualization skills, which are critical across all businesses at this point. So next up, we have marketing. Marketing is going to be C tier. It's C tier because we do have a lot of projected growth in the marketing space, especially digital marketing. Digital marketing is seeing something like a 22% growth. However, the median income is a little bit lower, something like $65,000 a year. Digital media managers and marketing managers can make a little bit more, something like $85,000 a year. Your cost versus ROI is going to be moderate. It really hinges on the portfolio that you build in college and the internships that you can use to get that first job. It's basic time investment, a 4-year degree, and then you're going to have to do continual learning because the digital space is ever evolving. So you need to brush up on skills like search engine optimization, as well as analytics and those sorts of things. Either way, you're getting transferable skills like content creation, branding, and analytics. These are all especially valuable in startups and nonprofits, as well as other agencies. Next up, we have mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering is going to be a solid engineering program. I'm going to say it's A tier. It's probably one of the most transferable engineering degrees out there. It's got fast growth, projected at 6%. You've got a good median income, definitely in the six-figure range. Entry level is starting at that $60,000 to $70,000 a year. ROI is going to be high, especially at the public institutions, and then you can do specific calculations for private schools or Ivy Leagues and those sorts of things. Again, basic time investment of 4 years. Additional licensure can make you more competitive, and you can also get a master's in a specific area, which can further increase your earning capacity. Again, this is one of the most transferable engineering degrees, so you're going to get CAD experience and thermodynamic skills that can apply in aerospace, energy, and just overall product design. So that's why it's a very versatile degree. Next up, we have nursing. So nursing is always going to see fast growth. It's always going to be around. Because nursing is always going to be around, it's got fast growth, and you can pull a really high salary. It's going to get S tier. In terms of the median salary right now, median RN is about $75,000 a year. Median for a nurse practitioner is closer to that $120,000 a year. Accelerated BSN programs and community college pathways make it a very high ROI endeavor. You're going to have typical 4-year degree unless you're in a specific accelerated program, and then you're going to have to take your NCLEX, and then your nurse practitioner's license is going to take an additional 2 years. Overall, you're going to get pretty much anything transferable in the healthcare industry. So, clinic and patient management, healthcare policies, skill transfers into administration, information, and overall education. So it's a very good degree. That's why it's a S tier degree. Next up, we have physics. Physics is going to get A tier because in order to actually get your physics degree, you have to be highly intelligent, and it's one of the most difficult degrees out there. However, we are still seeing fast growth for physicists, and the median earnings is something like $130,000 a year. This is going to be more in your astrophysics and those sorts of roles. However, many physicists transfer into the finance industry and do very well there. Overall, you're going to have a high return on investment depending on what path you take. And if you want to get into the advanced research and development, you're going to have to get an advanced degree, PhD, master's, that sort of thing. So it is a basic 4-year degree. Depending on what kind of roles you're going for, you might need an additional 4 to 7 years for your PhD. Overall, though, you're going to get quantitative modeling and data analysis, problem-solving skills that cross into engineering, finance, and tech. That's why it's getting an A tier. Next up, we have psychology. Psychology is definitely going to get C tier. It's one of the most popular degrees out there. In order to work as a counselor or a therapist, you have to get a master's degree, and then you have to do clinical hours. So it's extremely high time investment, except your return on that investment is not very high because the median salary is definitely on the lower side of things. Entry level is going to be something like $58,000 a year, and then you can maybe start getting into the 80s. If you open up a private practice, you can earn more than that. But again, it's a very long road to start earning as much as you could with a psychology degree. Basic 4-year time investment. You're going to get a job as a social worker, which might be making $45,000 a year. If you want to make more money, you have to do an additional 2 to 7 years of study. You do get a lot of transferable skills like research, communication, human behavior, and those sorts of things, which you can transfer into HR, marketing, and other user experience type of things. So it's not the worst if you use it to transfer into other industries. However, if you want to do the specific like psychology, therapy, counseling side of things, I don't think the ROI is there. I couldn't justify it personally. So that's why it's getting C tier. And finally, we have software engineering. Again, extremely fast growth here. It's getting S tier. But although there's a huge demand, there's a lot of competition. AI is putting some of these roles at risk. Still, you're going to have 6-figure salary easily. And depending on what approach you go, you're going to have a higher return on investment as long as you can secure the job. If you can secure the job and you can hold it down, you're going to have a high ROI. But again, competition is pretty fierce. So you got to be mindful and careful about that. Overall, it's similar to the IT and computer science side of things. You're going to get, development experience, architecture skills, and these are really valuable skills across pretty much all industries. But that's all I have for today. So what do you think? Please share your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And if you've made it this far into the video, you may as well drop a like on the video and share it with a friend. If there's a degree that I did not mention, be sure to check out some of my other videos. I've done a college degree tier list for science degrees as well as for engineering degrees. Rankings are going to be slightly different in those based off of the evaluation criteria. But as always, thank you for watching. Until next time.